Whatever you guys are doing is not working.
Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater's Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community, just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. It looks like we had some sort of a hiccup there with the video. Maybe we played it too many times. Maybe it's time to spice it up and go out and record a new one here. But welcome to the Sunday live. Let me know you can hear me. I was having some issues with my mic to start. I had gone and recorded some videos off site yesterday and took my whole setup with me. So just want to make sure everything is working. Good to have you, Ray, Brock, Corey. Welcome. Rhonda, one of my favorites. Rhonda, hope everything went well. Rhonda's down at Myrtle Beach. Hope the Barletta is safe. Hope you're safe, and that you made it through. Ian, that everything went well there. And I had a friend that was down in Tampa, and he was nervous that their family place right on the beach was going to be in trouble. And so hopefully everybody is doing well. Rhonda especially. Brock, hopefully you are doing well as well. I don't know how much you guys got. I know the surge was at high tide, so hopefully you're doing good. Bring up the W word. All right, perfect. Loud and clear. El Rivera, welcome. That's a new name I don't recognize, but glad to have you. Corey, been a frequent visitor the last probably month and a half or so. I've been seeing his name. All good. Lots of yard cleanup. Well, that's yard cleanup is doable. That is good to hear. Tom DeRosa, welcome. Glad to have you. And Tom's been a long time viewer and been on several of the lives. So we got a good group here. Welcome everybody. If you've got a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and we'll get to you. Yep, we're good. Few trees down, lost power, anything good, very good. Brock is in Charleston. So he was on the backside, the second go around, I guess, coming landfall after it crossed over Florida and then kind of came back up the Carolina coast. So hopefully everybody that's down in Florida is doing well and recovering. But I figured to start, as we're waiting on some questions coming in, if you got a question, just drop it in. I'll play you this video so you may know that last week I was in Wilmington, Carolina Beach, and was with Captain Tim, who was my instructor for my captain's class. And so I got up with him and actually hired him to teach the coastal, confident coastal boater. Welcome, Saint. Glad to have you. That is Bo, who created the video. Bo, I don't know what happened to your video. It stopped like halfway in, and we didn't even get to the finish part of your portion of the video. So I don't have to double check what's going on there. But we did the confident coastal boater, had a great time. We had a great situation. The weather was perfectly calm when we went on the water the first day. We spent probably 10, 11 hours from the start of, going over the ditch bag and some basics and things like that. Welcome, Boater Tom. Glad to have you. And then we did a maybe 7 miles offshore, a run through the inlet, talked about going through inlets. Then we ran offshore, threw a line in the water. Then we ran about 10 miles back to another inlet to go through a jettied inlet to get over to the Cape Fear River, and went and saw safe water buoys, preferred channel marks, just the basic navigation marks, the intercoastal navigation marks, as well as talking about tides and currents and all of that, and going to all these different places, getting the footage. And then the next day, the Hurricane Fiona was offshore. So we had perfectly calm conditions, but the next day things were stirred up pretty well. And we were like, okay, what I want to do is I want to go out there in this a little bit sloppier conditions, because it was, we maybe had one, maybe 2 footers out there on the previous day. And so I said, I would like to go through the inlet when it's really bad, safe, but bad. And he's an experienced captain, been a boater for a long time. He's I think he said a 50-ton master. And he's had his captain's license for over 4 years. He's a charter captain down there. He knows this inlet. He's, run it 100 times this year alone. So I was like, all right, let's go through that inlet and then we'll talk through it. As we were going through the inlet, you'll see, I'm going to play this video for you. So this is the video of us at the very end. Well, I'll just play it for you. And let me know that you can hear the audio. Maybe I'm having internet issues, or I just restarted my computer before we went here. Come on now. But we were going through the inlet. He was talking through it. We'd already done this once in just a nice calm. It was, he barely had to do any throttle manipulation. We were on a 30-foot pursuit, twin engine, twin Yamaha 2-strokes. And so I wanted to go through it in these tougher situations. So he actually had to get on and off the throttle and talk through that, see a lot of whitewater on the sides of the channel. It was an unprotected jetty, Carolina Beach Inlet, if anybody has been down that way. And this may not work. I'm not sure. Let me know that you can still hear me and that I'm still doing my thing. Yeah, the video you made, Bo, didn't play, but it looks like it might be a technical issue on my side. And I still have the video saved. It's just loaded up on this software, but we may be having an issue here. Jerry, welcome. Tom, yeah, thank you. So, well, let's see here. It looks like this isn't gonna, I'm not really sure. I wonder what happens. Okay, you can hear me. All right, so it looks like, I don't know why I am not able to play this video. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if we can make this happen. So maybe it just doesn't like this big screen. So we'll go this way here. So yeah, there's something about this video it's not liking. So I'll talk you through it since this doesn't seem to be seem to be doing what I need. So we were going through the inlet and I had 4 cameras set up. I've got the one on the throttle. So as he's saying, power down, power up, power down, power up. And then you can see the bow camera, which obviously you don't see that footage here. We were going through the inlet, and as we got to the last roller, it was a good 5-6 footer coming through. And we're on a 30-foot boat. He's an experienced captain. We've got our life vests on, and he says, let me show everybody what happens if you hit the throttle on the wrong section of the crest. Well, he powered into this wave, and we took that wave right over the bow, washed one of my cameras that was mounted on the windshield of his boat. He had a little kind of a, I don't know, a 6-inch, 8-inch high little plexiglass windshield on the bow as a walk around. So it just gave a little bit of deflection, but that's where my camera was mounted. Another one was mounted up on the hardtop bracket, kind of off to the port or the starboard bow, I guess, watching that water over there. And this wave crested right as he was powering into it, washed one of my cameras off the boat into the drink. The other camera got smashed into the upright for the top, and that footage is hopefully being saved. But if this would play, you'll see all the water come over, and it was a pretty exciting minute and 4 seconds, because from this power down, power up, power down, power up, as we were going through the waves, we the last 5 seconds you see us just get pounded by this. I bet it was probably a 6-footer that just crested right over his bow. So anyway, that would have been a lot more fun had you been able to see the footage, but it doesn't. There we go. All right. I don't know why. Let me see if I can get this to play. I'm not going to go big screen. That might be my. Yeah, it's getting hung up. All right. We're going to have to do a different game plan. So anyway, that was us doing the coastal version, and I've got all the footage. I've been editing it, getting some other videos together, but hopefully we are on track to have that ready in the week of October 10th. So as long as all the loading goes well there, and I'm pretty excited about it. It turned out really good, and Tim is a very knowledgeable person to help deliver that program. So, welcome, Elliot. Glad to have you. El Rivera, do you think used boat prices will start to drop in 2023? I have that on my plan for tomorrow. This is a video I've been talking about. I need to do. I've been doing the coastal thing. I've been writing my book. You can see this is the draft copy. Boat buyer's secret weapon: avoid expensive, frustrating, and embarrassing blunders buying a new or used boat. So this is in the works at the editors right now. Hope to have that done by the end of November. Kind of time frame would be my expected plan. So this video, the market update, has been, I need to do it, but it's on my calendar for tomorrow to get that done. Here's what I think is going to happen. Okay. We talked about it a little bit last week, but we have this runway of new boats. It's all going to be dependent on what the new boat demand looks like with the production, how many people are walking from their orders that they put a deposit on, because all these manufacturers have a runway of, 3 months, 6 months. I think Brock last week mentioned that somebody was still 18 months out on the bigger center consoles, the bigger pontoons with the bigger 250, 400, 600 horsepower. Those motors and some of those bigger boats the demand was so great that they're still months and months, a year out. What that means is as long as people can't get the new boat that they want, they're going to be pushed into the used boat market. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that demand has tanked. No, there's no question. If you look at the searches on Google, if you go to Google Trends and look at the searches for just boats for sale, it is the traditional slow time. So you would expect to go down, but that dip is more drastic than and deeper than it normally is this time of year. It's definitely much more than 2020, 2021, and now, we're dipping deeper than those two. We know 2020, 2021, the demand was higher than normal throughout all 12 months of the year. So as long as there's still high demand and they can't, or as long as there's still enough demand that they can't build enough boats, then the used boat prices are going to be held up by that. Now, when in the segments, because there's only some segments where they're still real behind, the jet boats, the bigger horsepower center consoles, the bigger horsepower tri-tunes. But if you look at aluminum boats, if you look at some of the bow riders and deck boats, if you look at some of the smaller center consoles, if you look at what else would be in there, um, there's other segments. I'm kind of blanking on it right now. I've got to go back to all my data, but there's several segments where, hey, the demand has dropped and the supply is, we're still building enough of those boats. So like the value deck boats, the bow riders, especially the stern drives, they're building enough of those that segment, you're going to see those used values slowly drop down. The more they are pushing inventory on the dealers, and if there becomes an oversupply, we know demand's going down, but the supply hasn't been there, so that hasn't crossed yet, and I still don't think it has, or it still don't think it is to that point where we're going to see a drop in the prices, unless you are looking at a segment of the market where it's closer. If you're looking at that deck boat, if you're looking at the stern drive bow rider, if you're looking at a 50 horse pontoon, that might be an area where, okay, we'll see those drop. If you're looking at aluminum fishing boat or a multi-species boat, something like that, we may see those drop. If you're looking at a big horsepower center console, I don't see it happening right away. I don't see that happening until maybe by April, May. Maybe you'll start see something if the supply chain catches up and they're able to get these motors and get these boats out. And in addition, those people that have put their $500,000, $2,000 deposit on these boats, if they start walking because interest rates have gone up, because the pricing has gone up, because they lost their job, because the economy is going down, all of those reasons could have them pull out. And now that 6, 8, 12, 18 months of runway of sold boats that these manufacturers have, now that turns into, instead of 18 months, now we're only at 6 months, or, now they've walked and we're not behind at all. We're only delivering dealer inventory, and that demand continues to stay down. Then we're going to see used boat prices drop. But I think it's going to be segment by segment. I don't think you're going to see it as a whole. And one of the reasons I say this is, if you look at the RV industry, the towables versus the vehicles, the powered, the diesel pushers and the not a fifth wheel or tow behind, but I don't even know what you call it. The towable section in the RV industry, they've seen a significant drop in the pricing there. Used RVs, used pull behinds are seeing a drop in pricing there. That's because they can churn those puppies out. All they need is plywood, aluminum, and a little bit of other metal, and boom, they're slapping those things together and shipping them out. On the power driven side, so the pushers, anything with the motor, those the prices are still as high as they have been. The demand's slowing down, but they just can't build enough. So even though the demand's going down, there's still more demand than supply. That's where we are in several segments of the boating industry. Is the demand, although it's going down, is still greater than the supply. And until those lines cross, you're not going to see a drop in used boat prices, but it's going to be segment by segment when it happens. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm starting to get the way I want to say it down a little bit better. And when I have all my stats and my numbers, but those are the things that I've been looking at, because this one's it's at that turning point where El Rivera, you're going to see it in the next couple of months. In the wintertime, the people that the people that are like, all right, maybe our job's in jeopardy, maybe our mortgage rate adjusted, rates have gone up, and now our place is going to get more expensive. Inflation is driving the cost of everything up. Maybe we just can't afford that $500 a month boat payment. Maybe we don't want to write that check for $3,000 for the wet slip storage or the dry storage or whatever. And we'll start seeing those come on the market. But we've got a ways to go before we see a significant drop. They're level now. They're flattened out. But as many people said last week, there's still price increases coming on the new boats that are coming out, because inflation has hit all the supply chain. So all of the parts and pieces and components of the boat, the aluminum, the fiberglass, the stainless, the components, the electronics, all of that stuff has gotten more expensive. So the price of the boats are gonna continue to go up, which means that that's going to carry the used boat prices a little bit until the supply demand curve crosses, and they're not quite there yet. So hopefully that makes sense. Talking off the cuff on this that's one of my hardest videos to put together, because I do a ton of research to make sure that I'm not just sort of kind of pulling an opinion out my ass, that I'm actually like making an educated decision, knowing that I'm a boat guy, not an economist. But I am, I can put things together and make an educated opinion and talk to people in the industry as well. I talked to a dealer a couple weeks ago, and that was maybe it was last week. I talked to a dealer up in the Northeast, and he said, man, it was the end of August. He said it was just before Labor Day, but we just saw that people just stopped coming in. His phone stopped ringing. It was a significant, noticeable event of demand going down, and that was right around Labor Day. So, are you heading to boat shows in the Northeast? Right now, I don't have anything planned. I'm maybe going to the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show in October. I've got another distributor event in November that's in Ohio, but I don't have any Northeast boat shows like the Annapolis show or anything like that on my list right now to travel to. I've been traveling a bunch with these other projects, and I don't one of the reasons I like what I do is because I get to work from home. I get to pick my girls up from school, take them to dance. And yeah, there's probably better opportunity financially, but the lifestyle of what I do and be able to spend my time with my girls is really, really important to me. And so travel, it's got to be something that's really, really interesting for me to go, or it can be a family event. So right now I don't have those plans, but that could change if an interesting enough opportunity comes up. But right now it's not on the calendar. Bought my '08 Angler FX. Any experience? Decent boats. So I think that 204 FX. I think is that a no. The short answer is I don't. To 2008 Angler 204 FX. I'll tell you what I tell anybody that asks about a used boat that is over, would you say 2008? Looks like there's a 2009 204. We'll pick that one. The same thing I tell anybody that is looking or just bought a used boat or ask about a boat that's over maybe 5 or 6 years old. More important than the brand is how that particular boat was taken care of. Because at that point, it's 2008. So that's what, 12, 14 years old, 15 years old. The condition of that boat, if it was built poorly, if it was built with cheap material, if they did something dumb in the production, it's shown itself after 15 years. It's broken. It's going to be noticeable if you know how to inspect a boat. And if you're on this live, you should, because you should have this right here. You should have this boat buyer's toolkit. If you don't, you can go grab that for free, John. Just go to the website, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, and you can get our boater's secret weapon. We had to go away from Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon because Facebook banned my website for some reason, and I wasn't able to do any. I wasn't able to send any Facebook traffic to that website, so we had to switch over to Boater's Secret Weapon. And but anyway, so it's more important about the particular 204 FX that you bought and how well that boat was taken care of, how well that engine was taken care of. Because if it was built cheap, if it wasn't a decent boat, you're going to be able to look at it and be like, oh, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. Pound on the fiberglass. Do everything that I talk about in the used boat videos, in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy. If you invested in that, how to buy a used center console. There's several of those on the channel, and you will be able to tell on that particular boat. Because I would take, I've said this multiple times, I would take a value brand that's been really, really well taken care of than a premium brand boat that's been neglected. That, because after 15 years, the neglect is more impactful than the cheaper materials, or at least I'll be able to find it. I'll be able to say, ooh, I want to stay away from that boat because of X, Y, and Z. And it's the same thing it's not so much about the brand anymore. And I say that after about 5, 6, 7 years, kind of after that time frame, it's all about how well it's been taken care of. If you're in the coast, it's probably closer to 4 or 5 years. Tim and I were talking about it. We spent 10, 11 hours together each day, and cruising around different destinations when we had time to just chat. And we were talking about the harshness of the saltwater. He had a saying. He said, the only thing saltwater doesn't hurt is saltwater. Like, everything else it destroys. Like, it's that corrosive, and it's that tough of an environment that anything it's going to cause problems with. And so that's what's most important for you. So hopefully that makes sense for you, John. Have you had time to think about that Rotex outboard? Yeah. So I had seen that. For those of you that Rotex outboard. So this is the Rotex outboard. You can see it on, let's see if that's going to give me a big picture or not. I find it interesting, the images that they show. All right, so you can kind of get the idea. It looks like a stern drive, but it's an outboard. Everything is on the exterior of the boat. Here's where the water line is. The water line's about right there. Okay. You can see where where everything's going to come through, the steering cables or whatever. I think it's a terrible, terrible design idea. Stern drives have been in the market for, I don't know, they came out with the stern drives in the 70s. 50 years, 40 years. Stern drives have been around for a long time. We are still getting water in the lower units. It's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible to come up with a design that you submerge underwater that's never going to get water in it. And now you're in this situation, you are putting the actual engine itself submerged underwater, and you're expecting that to stay 100% dry. And I know they've got the technology of water intrusion, and they're pressurizing, and they're doing these things, and that's fine when it comes from the factory. But the first time that thing gets opened up by a technician who, frankly, in the first 5 years of this life, technicians are gonna work on a handful of them. They're not gonna sell many of these. Dealers that are holding these products, I talked to a dealer, and they said, "You know what? We're gonna buy the ones that we have to, but we won't be stocking any of these on any significant level until after 3 or 4 years, until they've either proven that they can handle it, and that we've let all the kinks get worked out, or they just discontinue it because we don't have a lot of confidence." And I was talking to the technicians. I wasn't talking to a salesperson. I was talking to the technicians. I can't imagine that it's a wise idea to submerge the actual engine portion of it. Again, coming directly from the factory, that's fine. You've got everything exactly how you want it, but as soon as you take that thing apart, if a seal gets missed, if some dirt gets in there, if any little thing happens, now I've got water intrusion right into my motor. Never, never, never a good thing. So they're selling these on the Manitous, which I'm afraid I love the look of it. I mean, this design is amazing. This design of having the stern drive type deck, I love it. That's like, the concept is fantastic. The reality of the motor being underwater, it to me just it doesn't make sense. I don't care for the redesign, the looks of the new Manitous either. That it looks like the Switch, which looks cheap to me. Maybe it's a just because it looks like the Switch, I put that cheap feel to it. I haven't seen one live and in person, so I'm gonna hold off completely. The Alumacraft, again, all of these brands are owned by BRP, and the deck, the concept of the casting platform on the Alumacraft seems amazing. It's kind of like I mean, because you have that outboard that's basically submerged underwater, because you have that, you've got a big, huge casting platform. From what I've understood from some of the testing that was done at dealer meetings, is because of that platform, that the boat can be hard to get on plane. Now, it may have been they've only making a 115 and a 150, so maybe it was just a little bit underpowered. Maybe there was something else going on, but I don't know. I'm not sold on it. And when you see the images, if you see this image right here, they show the water line. That is not where the water line is going to be on that boat. This is a photoshopped image. The water line is going to be like right at that 150. So it's going to be significantly submerged. You can see it on this image right here. So even when they're showing it, they're trying to show it not as submerged, I think. But the reality is, look at how low that is. Even this one, it's I don't know. I just can't imagine it's a good idea. It's a two-stroke. They scrapped the Evinrude because nobody wanted two strokes, and this is a two-stroke. It's a two-stroke that you're putting underwater. I'm not a fan. I haven't run one. I haven't talked to anybody at BRP that was involved in the process. I've talked to some dealers that sell these brands, and they don't seem to be super, super excited. I had one that said, "Hey, we think it's going to be great." But again, is it a salesperson, or is it the person that's going to have to wrench on these things? So I am not sold. I want to see a technician open one up and do whatever needs to be done, because something's going to be done on it. The other thing is, I've said this about everything. is I am not buying the first generation of anything new in the boating industry. I think it's a terrible idea. I said I wouldn't buy the first generation of the Mercury 600. You've got gears, you've got a transmission, you've got a foot that steers. All this stuff is new. I don't know whether I hadn't heard of any major issues with them, but I don't want to be the one to get stuck with a boat that project is scrapped after 2 or 3 years because it just doesn't work, or my boat's always in the shop. I want somebody else to take that chance. I'll take it after 3 or 4 years. In this case, I'll take it after 10 years and prove that can keep water out of it over the long haul. And again, it's a two-stroke. It's a two-stroke that they just shut down Evinrude because nobody wanted that technology. It was quieter. It was more economic. It was more eco-friendly. The cleanest burning engine out there. It was everything, but they still couldn't sell it. That's doesn't give me a lot of confidence that this is going to be a big success. So those are some of my thoughts on it. Some of the questions I've got in my mind. Can't wait to see one in the wild, in the real world, see how they perform. Again, it's only a 150 and a 115. You know, I hope it doesn't ruin the boat brands that they're putting them on. From my gut tells me most dealers are going to just order the plain outboards on these boats, and if they have to take a Rotax or two to keep up their relationship, but my guess is they're picking up a new manufacturer for pontoons, a new manufacturer for aluminum fishing boats to hedge their bets just in case. So that's my thought. Mark, welcome. No, you didn't. You missed a bunch of technical difficulties, Mark. That's all I've got done so far. Interest rates are going to continue to go up. They'll definitely affect demand for both new and used boats. Yeah, I agree 100% that I was talking to a buddy of mine that's a mortgage broker, and he said, rates have gone up from, you guys probably know this on mortgage rates, under 3 to, I think he said it was 6 something last week. And there's based on everything that's going on, there's no signs that it's going to stop at 6. It'll probably go up even higher, which, relatively speaking, not terrible. I did mortgages. I owned a mortgage company for about 5 years back right before until the mortgage crisis hit in 08, 07, 08. That's when I lost my business. But rates were 6.5%, 7% then. So historically, it's not crazy, but we've been all riding 3-4% interest rates, 5%. If you're at 5%, you're like, holy cow, you're way overpaying. You need to refinance. But I see those continue to go up, and there's no signs that point to, hey, the economy is going to keep chugging along like gangbusters. The question is what's the supply going to look like? There's still going to be, even when there were 18% interest rates, people were still buying houses. People were still buying boats. Not as many, but there's always people with money. In the boating industry, there's always people that are going to want to get into boating or upgrade their boat. So it's not like it's going to stop completely, but it's going to go down. How far down is it going to go? And then what are the manufacturers going to do they're in a prime position to say, all right, let's not saturate the market with our new inventory, and drive the prices off the cliff. Let's be smart about what's the supply, what's it going to look like, how many boats should we build, and not shove them down their dealers' throats, just so that they can produce more boats. And if they can read the tea leaves and do that right, maybe we won't see a huge drop off in the pricing. So just put a deposit down on new Sportsman 282. Dealer just revealed $8,000 delivery charge is standard for boat, no dealer installed options. It's Rich. Has become commonplace in the last 2 years that there's been some sort of a fee that either the dealer and or the manufacturer are putting on these boats. I would, look at the total package. and say, okay, how are we going to do this? In my first time boat buyer academy, I talk about negotiation strategies, and I call it the magic money saving method. It's how do you go through the negotiation process when you're buying a boat. So I don't care that there's an 8,000 delivery prep charge. What if it's me buying the boat, I don't care that there's a line item for an $8,000 delivery and prep charge. What I care about is that I want to get the lowest out the door price on that boat. So I monkey with the numbers, call whatever you want to call it, the price of the boat, the dealer prep. I don't care how you label it on the purchase agreement. What I want is that out the door number, taxes, title, registration, fees, prep, any of that stuff, that bottom line number, I want to know that that's the lowest number I can possibly pay. So, with that said, one of the first things I'm going to question is what's this $8,000 delivery and prep charge? Um, some areas they have a cap on delivery and prep charges. I know in the Carolinas they do, or in South Carolina they do. Certain states they have different regulations what you can call things. But I'm negotiating on that total out the door number. And I'm one of the things that I talk about in the magic money saving method is what like your reaction to the price is outrage. Like what? That's crazy high. There's no way that can be the price of the boat, and kind of setting the stage for especially right now. And Rich, I don't know where you are. I don't know where you. And the other thing, this just dawned on me about demand. There's a whole bunch of people that just lost boats in this hurricane. A portion of those are going to have insurance money to replace those boats. Now, is their insurance money going to be enough to replace it at where the prices have been? I don't know, but there's another batch of demand for those center consoles, especially some pontoons, but let's say 70% center consoles and cruisers. What's that matters every year. There's hurricane sales that make a difference to these manufacturers, and eat up a portion of the inventory every time a big storms come through in the industry. They talk about it. There's hurricane sales. These people that just lost their boat, they need to replace them. Boom, they're back in the market. So there's some more demand there. That was just a side note that came up as I was thinking through this. So I'm negotiating on the out the door price of that boat, and I'm asking the simple question, hey, is that the best you can do? That simple question. You're not saying I'm going to buy it, you're not saying you're not going to buy it, but in my opinion, that is the absolute best question you can ask when you're negotiating anything. You've not committed to anything, you've not said I'm this way or that way. You're just asking the simple question that, hey, like, wow, $8,000 delivery fee out the door is, you know, 375. God dang, that's way more than we were planning on. Is that the best you can do? I don't know. But I promise you that is the question every salesperson is unprepared. Not every salesperson. Most salespeople are unprepared to ask. A year ago, they felt confident if you asked that, and there were still people that used this strategy from the First Time Boat Buyers Academy. That still, and I'm sort of just giving it to you right here, this section of it. There's still a ton of value in that academy, but a year ago, 2 years ago, people were still saving thousands of dollars by using this technique, right? It's simple. It's not rocket science. It's not like I created this. I just know when you're negotiating something like this, it's one of the best questions you can ask, because you haven't gone one, I'm not buying it, or yeah, I'll buy it. You're just, is that the best you can do? It puts them totally on the defensive. They don't want to lose the sale. 2 years ago, they're like, forget it. If Rich doesn't buy it, I got 10 other people that'll buy this boat. Now, depending on what part of the country you're in, that may not be the case. It may still be the case. They may have one or two people that would buy that 282, especially if it's an ordered boat that you're having to put a deposit on and wait 6, 8, 12 months. Is that the best you can do? Put it in their court. And they'll be like, well, we can maybe drop that down 4,000, but they're going to explain that fee and they're going to go, and now then they give you the new, like, geez, you're only dropping it down $4,000. I don't know. Is that the best you can do? And you just keep going back to the well. Again, it doesn't put you on any side, or I'm buying it, I'm not buying it. It's a simple question that puts the ball in their court, because as soon as they say, yes, that's the best I can do, they're afraid you're going to say no. If that's the best you can do, I'm out. Whoa, 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 whoa. But most salespeople aren't trained well enough to be able to maneuver that question, and it can find that out for you. That's a little bit different than the question that you asked. But not unfortunately, the reality of the situation is more dealers are doing that, because sometimes the manufacturer is just raising the price on them. They're saying, hey, these boats came out and there's a 4%, an 8%. Somebody last week mentioned that there was who was it? Robalo or somebody, maybe it was even Sportsman, that had a price increase that came out. And so that's that delivery prep charge. Some of that can be, we've got to make up that money somewhere. We've already quoted you a price, and then we got the price increase from them. And so we're just going to call it that. And maybe they're putting something else on the boat that I'm not aware of, or that you're not aware of, but that questioning technique is it's golden. It will save you thousands of dollars, regardless if that $8,000 delivery prep charge is legit or not. It will save you money if you use that. In my first time Boat Buyer Academy, I think I charged $97 for it, and I promise you, if you use that, you'll save more than $100. Most people are saving several thousand that use it. So thanks. I've been watching all summer. It seemed like it was going down in my area. That's another great point that I should have mentioned in that, is your area of the country makes a big difference. If you're going to be hit harder by a recession in your area, well, then guess what? If more people are going to be losing their jobs, if the cost of living in your area is going up more, then it's going to be pockets, segments of boat types, and geographic segments are going to have. I think if you're looking used specifically, I think I would really open up my search area and zero in. I talk about in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy a bunch, is zeroing in on the style of boat, zeroing in on the level. Am I a premium buyer, a mid-tier buyer, or a value buyer? The size, the horsepower figure, all that stuff down, and then start searching online. Facebook Marketplace, Boat Trader is one of the easiest places to go. But I'm checking and I'm calling on boats and inquiring about boats that are as far away as I'm willing to drive, maybe even a little bit farther, just to double check, and finding out the same boat there is this much, knowing, especially in Buffalo, that if I go to the coast, if I go towards Salt, there should be a 10 to 15% discount to pricing, because the boats are 10 to 15% or 20% worse in condition than what's in the freshwater side of things. So keep that in mind. You're close enough to Salt that if you do go towards the coast, those boats are in rougher shape. They should be less. It's not that the freshwater boats are charging too much. They're worth more. So just a thought when you said Buffalo, go Bills. Yes, for me, Tom, that is, I've lost several opportunities because of that, but it's a lifestyle choice for me. And if you guys have been on, you've met my daughters. That it is. My wife and my girls are the most important thing to me. So, John, another great weather weekend here. Awesome. Trick or treat on Fox River. Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Trick or treating on the boat. That's fantastic. That sounds like a great time. The Fox River. Where's I don't know where the Fox River is. John, why do I not know where you are? Um, okay, right there. So it's just off Lake Michigan. It was running, I think it was running like right around there somewhere. So awesome. That looks like a cool spot. I don't know. I always like to look up when people tell me where they're boating. I always like to kind of check out the area and and see just outside. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Very cool. Very, very cool. That's one thing I have not done. I've never had a trick or treat on the boat experience. So, did I miss any discussion about the walleye cheetah? No, I I showed that to my wife on I don't know where it popped up in my feed, but the if you guys don't know, there was a walleye guy that put what 1 pound shots in his walleye. And the video I saw, I didn't look into it. I'm not a big fisherman, but I looked into it and I saw him pull out a big pound um lead shot or a weight and put it in a tin. I'm like, oh my God, there's three in there already. That's four. And my wife's like, why would they do that? So well, it's helps you wins the money. I'm like, but who looks at who's gonna put 8 pounds in? Like, that's so blatantly obvious that there's no way that fish is another 8 pounds heavier. That's crazy. I thought that was kind of funny. I think it's a terrible idea. It's yeah, it's the first time I saw it. I saw their promo videos when they first came out with it, and I'm like, I need to do a video. And I just again, same thing with the market update video. It's on like I need to do that, but I've had so many other things that have kept me busy that I haven't. But it was yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what the marketplace does and going to the first boat show where I've seen them. I went to visit I went to visit an Alumacraft dealer and a Manitou dealer when I was back in Nebraska because it had just come out around that time. What is it? The end of August for my brother's 50th birthday. Neither one of them had inventory and neither one of them seemed super excited about it. But all right. Yeah, Brock just bought a pre-owned Sportsman, but he had an order on a new one earlier this season and ended up going with a pre-owned one because his date kept getting pushed back on the 247. His fee was 2,000, delivery was 750, so 2,700, and that Brock. What was that? March? That was earlier this spring, I think. Um, John, you're very welcome. Off topic, what are your thoughts on Sea-Doo? So if you're just talking the jet ski, um, when my father-in-law 3, 4 years ago bought skis, um, I told him, I said, I think the Yamahas are more reliable. The Rotax engines, the Sea-Doos are more advanced, technically speaking. They're faster. They've got extra features to them. But in my experience, the Yamahas, having sold Yamaha jet boats, the same engines, having talked to people that have owned jet skis, that the Yamahas have traditionally been more reliable. When he went to the dealership that he bought it from, they offered both, and they told him go with the Yamahas. Now, was that, and this was right at the start of the pandemic when they were like he got the last two that were in stock of the super high output performance macked out skis that they had. He got the last two. He didn't get to choose the colors that he wanted, but he got the last two. Maybe it was a situation where, hey, we got a buyer. We have these in stock. I'm going to tell him that answer so that he buys these. and maybe they didn't have the Sea-Doos. I don't know for sure, but he was told the same thing. Go with the Yamaha Wave Runners. They're more reliable. If you're asking about the Switch, the Sea-Doo Switch, I've done a video on that, which you know that, Bo. You probably have seen that one, but when I've seen the Switches, I think they're a value boat for sure. There's a bunch of things I don't care for about them. The height of the rails specifically, but I also think they're a great boat for a certain segment of people. They're, from what people are saying that are first time boaters, they're easier to drive and maneuver. They're sporty and fun. They're quick. It's like a jet boat with a lot of deck space. We'll see how they hold up, but so that kind of gives you both answers depending on what specifically you meant with the Sea-Doo. Never hurts to ask in most acts. Yeah, exact. You ask for the discount. You ask for what are you doing? $8,000 for a delivery fee. You've got to question it. And here's why so many dealers have been doing it, and those numbers have Brock said 1999 and 750, so 2750 a year ago or 8 months ago, whatever it was. But there's some people that just haven't questioned it because they just wanted a boat. And so, 2,000, let's see if 3,000, let's see if they'll buy it on 5,000. And those numbers have gone up in some of the Switch, the Sea-Doo Switch, which was demand was crazy high, supply was super low, and there were dealers that were charging outrageous fees on there. Yeah, Regal. Okay, that might have been you, Gary, or Jerry, that mentioned that Regal had the 4% increase per quarter starting in Q4 and then going through 2023. So what is that? 16, 20 compounded 20 plus percent over the next year and 4 months, or year and 3 months. Damn, that's, and a lot of it, that, like I said, that inflation is just catching up in we've got our inventory of stuff. We're building those boats. It takes, maybe 2 to, let's say, 5 weeks on the really bigger size boats, 2 weeks to 5 weeks to turn out a boat from start to finish. Well, as those products get used up in inventory, the components, you got to buy new, and maybe you've got a supply of them, but eventually it gets more expensive as inflation hits. Then the next batch you buy is even more expensive. The next batch you buy is even more expensive because everything has that same, from the raw material to the components manufacturer to the distributor. Now it's making it to the manufacturer. All of those have to hit, and it just kind of is a wave effect that just keeps coming. Dirt Dude, welcome in the house. Northern part of Illinois. That was the Fox River. It's the busiest waterway. Interesting. I didn't. I should have known about that then. What happened to all the salvage motors from Hurricane? Some of them get taken to the junkyard. There's a company called Boat History Report that I've got a relationship with, and I think it's a good investment if you're buying a used boat, because of this reason specifically, or this is one of the reasons, is in the boating world, some states don't title motors. On the stern drives, none of them title it. They'll title the hull, and because the motor, our inboards and stern drives are attached to the boat, they're under one serial number. The outboards, some states will title them, some won't. But here's what happens. Hurricane hits, boom, 6 months to a year later, some of these boats start making their way up to Michigan, to Colorado, to the Midwest, to freshwater areas. And sometimes the boat's been salvaged and they're selling it. Sometimes the motor has been salvaged and they put it on a different boat. They pulled the motor and put it on a different hull. There's no connection. But what Boat History Report does is they get all of the databases that they can access. It's not 100% by any means. I always try to make that clear when I make my content about it. And they pay me a small referral fee. If somebody gets a, you know, whatever, $60, $70 boat history report package from them or me, it costs the same, but they pay me $10. So it's not like I'm making a ton, but I think it's a good product, and they're willing to pay me for the exposure. But the reason I like it is because it can find those, because every time a hurricane hits, 6 months to 12 months later, these boats start popping up, and people are unaware of it. They don't even know to look for it. So that's why in my used boat videos, I say poke your head around and know what an engine should look like. If you're in, if you're in Nebraska and this motor comes up and it's got all sorts of rust all over it, all sorts of corrosion on the boat, well, that's a big heads up. There are other people that will buy these motors and fix them up and sell them as remanned and rebuilt motors. That can happen as well. I'm sure a bunch of them get that happens to them and they go overseas. But there's a decent size market of these boats not making it to the salvage yard when they should be salvaged. And granted, some of them, just because the boat was totaled, maybe the motor didn't go underwater, and they are salvageable. But there's a trend of it happening every time this instance comes up, which is every year or multiple times a year, in the country, I believe. What was that one? Um, Boater Tom, the insurance get them, and yeah, they do go if they're again, they'll go to auction, but they should have that salvage title. That's the indication to you that, hey, this boat has gone through a situation. So if I'm buying any boat that has a Florida registration, that's the other thing that Boat History Report does, is they give you the history of registration for that hull ID number. And if I see Florida, I would reference back to a hurricane and say, okay, in the time it was registered in Florida, were there any hurricanes down there? And I may walk away from a perfectly fine boat, or I'm gonna dive into that even more, because once it goes to the auction, it can go to any individual that has access to that auction, and it can be, like I said, it can end up in a state where nobody's thinking hurricane, and they're just looking at a boat that seems like a great deal, and it happens all the time. Um, yes, you can buy the entire boat. You can buy they'll do just the motors, and there's a oh shoot there is a website that is an auction site, and I don't know where they're getting their inventory from, if they're foreclosed or if they're repos or if they're insurance salvages. But there is a website. If anybody knows it, put it in the comments. But there's a website that specifically does that. And I want to say they're out of somewhere in the um, maybe Colorado, something like that. But if anybody knows that site, gosh, why is it escaping me? If I think of it, I'll put it in. But if anybody else knows it, let me know. We'll be seeing a lot of new boards hitting the market for Florida now. Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing that happens. Now, again, some of them may be perfectly fine, but be be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. All right. So Brock ordered it in August, canceled it in March when he realized that, hey, I've got this used one that is a year old, and it's much less, and they raised the price and kept pushing the time back on them. So that delivery fee was from August, so over a year ago, and now it's up to 8,000. PDI comes with the boat. So did 8,000 include some rigging of accessories? Um, yeah, that dirt dude, that's a question that I had too. Is there something that they do to all of their boats that maybe you didn't know about it. It's just showing up as an option on the boat, but they actually added on to all their boats. Maybe they put the electronics in, and I would ask the question for sure. But either way, regardless of what their answer is, even if it makes the most sense in the world, I'm still asking for a discount. I'm still negotiating the price of that boat. The auction discussion has me thinking now. Wife wouldn't approve. You've got to be real careful. I'll tell you a quick story. When I first started selling boats in '09, so the recession just hit. I closed down my mortgage company, had a personal crisis because I lost everything. Said, I'm going to go sell boats because I love going to the lake. I'm walking away from the industry I've been in since college. Finance, was reasonably successful at it. I said, I'm getting out and I'm going to sell boats. One of the first couple of weeks I was there in the service department was this beautiful Boston Whaler Conquest. Somebody had bought it from an auction. All of these dealers in '07, '08 had gone out of business, and there were all these repoed boats. So the auctions were full of these repoed boats, and they were selling them as is. So this guy got his hands on this beautiful Boston Whaler for a steal. Well, the first time he went to put it in, he backed it down, put it on the ramp, cranked it up, and that thing was wide open throttle in gear. Now, the throttle was not in gear, but whatever happened to that boat, however it ended up in his hands, at some point the cable got set, or it was whatever happened. The electronics were destroyed, but that boat was wide open throttle and forward when he cranked it up on his trailer. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but he cranked it off, took it to our service department. We were a Boston Whaler dealership, and they were like, listen, sir, I don't know what they couldn't fix it. They like, we are not getting involved in this. It's who knows what's going on with this boat. It's a repo. There's too much liability. It's not something obvious that we feel we can fix. We are not putting in the water to test it, to do anything. And they were like, this is why you have to be careful of repoed boats, because you just don't know what the situation is. Now, with that said, you can go in, buy a repoed boat. It came right off a dealer showroom, or it came out of a used inventory, or was, repoed off somebody's driveway. You can get a steal, and it can be a perfectly great boat. Just red flags, be on the lookout for red flags everywhere. And because they do sell them as is. So, all right. Holy crap, we're at over an hour already. I was like, I'm not really feeling it. My wife is kind of wanted to spend some time together. She had kind of a long week and a long weekend. I was like, oh, this might be a short one anyway. There's a good football game on tonight. And but we'll get to Brock here, and then I'll do my commercial and finish up. My old 95 Mercury was stuck wide open one time, ended up being water sensor off the separator came off, stuck in the throttle float. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It would have probably been, it definitely been Merck's, but it would have probably been, it might have been that vintage. It might have been like 99, 2000, because this was in '09. And it was a couple-year-old boat. So it very well could have been something like that, but it was scared the hell out of the customer. How would it not crank that baby up? And this had twins. I'm sure that your bass boat, that 95 Mercury, wasn't a 50 horse, I'm guessing. And, that happens when you're putting on a trailer. Holy crap. That would, terrify you. You don't even know what's going on. You crank it up, and you're thinking about all the other things that you got to do to unload. And next thing you know, you're wide open throttle. Jeez. It'd take you time to get your wits about you to crank that off, or to pull the safety lanyard or whatever. But that's the last thing you're thinking is, I got to shut this down right away. So anyway, all right, we'll do my commercial real quick. If you're buying a boat, grab the Boat Buyer's Toolkit, totally free. If you're a boat owner, and I see these posts on Facebook all the time. what is this on, I just bought this boat, what is this? And it's always the fuel vent, or it's the bilge pump output, or it's the drain for the anchor locker, or drain for the cooler. And so I share my video that I did that talks about what are all these weird things on your boat that you don't know what they are. And so the boater boot camp is for people that, hey, they new to boating, and there's so many things you just don't know, like that fuel water separator. I didn't know for the longest time what a fuel water separator was till I got into the industry. I was like, oh, that's kind of important to know. And they're becoming more and more common. We talk about all those things. There's a 3-part video series that goes with that boater boot camp. It's awesome. And it's totally free. You just sign up, give me your email, go log in, and you get access to those. We've got the best boat captain. We have stern drive. We have pontoon. I need to get the outboard one loaded up, but we've got single engine outboard. And I just filmed the Confident Coastal Boater, which will be coming out soon. We have Trailer Like a Pro. If you struggle at the boat ramp, I can't help it if your boat's in wide open throttle when you crank it up. But back in the trailer, loading the boat up, the easy, things you need to know if you're a trailer boater, because there's too many things that can go wrong there. Tow water sports with confidence. I put my kids on a wakeboard and a tube. So I've got kids in the water, and I'm actually showing you exactly what to do, how to do it safely, and then learn to ski and wakeboard the easy way. This one is in the works. I need to put that across here. This one's not done yet, but will be filmed in the spring. I didn't get done at this before. Captain Sydney, who is in my captain's class, she's on the ski show team. She details boats in college to make extra money. She's awesome. She teaches kids all the time. And so she's going to get in the water with my girls and demonstrate how to do the water sports. Tow water sports with confidence is how to drive the boat. I may package those up in some way as I get closer to it. And we talked about the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, walks you through step by step from, hey, we should buy a boat, to magic money saving method, negotiating, getting the best price, and then making sure that you don't have who was there. I don't think they're on here. But the titling issue, there's a subscriber that's been on a bunch of the lives that had a one digit was off in the hull identification number. And he's been dealing with that with a good Marine Max is the dealer. So a good, reputable dealership. And he's been fighting that battle for months and months and months, because it's just a total pain in the butt. Part of it is because they're busy is another reason that's taken so long. But we talk about all those things, and that's a great program as well. Everything comes with the money back guarantee. If you're not happy with anything, let me know. You get your money back. I refunded a guy yesterday. I'm guessing he was a little bit older, but he kept emailing me and saying, where is my book? I'm waiting for my book in the mail. When are you going to email it, or when are you going to send it to me? And I kept responding to him with, these are videos that are online. You should get an email. His wife called me. I left her a message and said, call me back. I want to get you straightened out. And he just sent me an email, said, refund me. I thought this was a hard copy book. I don't want to mess with the internet. I'm like, here you go. Here's your money back. That's fine. That's why I do it. Because I want everybody to be blown away by the value they get from anything that they invest in. And I'm pretty proud of all those programs. And hopefully with these lives, if you watch the lives, I'm a real person. And hopefully you can see the value that I deliver in my style, and hopefully you find value in even just the free videos on the channel. But I was having fun. Thanks, John. Thanks, Dirt Dude. You're very welcome. Yeah, head over to the website and grab those things for sure. The paid programs are great, and I think you get a lot of value out of there as well. I know exactly looking for. Yeah, getting access and knowing what you're looking for, and I don't know that they give you a whole lot of time to inspect, but there are some steals to be had for sure. You just have to sort through. I figured it was a bigger, 200 Black Max. I figured it was a bigger one, especially those I mean, you don't have much bow stop on there. I bet you would zip right up over the top. Actually happened while I was driving down the lake, trying to get off the throttle. Hot foot was stuck. Oh my God. Yeah, that I remember one time I was demoing a boat with the customer. It was a Sea Ray 240 Sun Deck. I'll never forget this. The family, husband, wife, 2 young kids. We just went out, ran the boat. The band, it ran great. It was the perfect boat for them. You know, at that time, you know, it was probably a '07, '08, '09. 240 Sun Deck was like 30 grand. And it was perfect. They lived on the water. It was going to fit on their lift. We came back into the docks and I was pulling it into a slip and not just parking it on the side dock. I don't know what happened, but I put it in gear, came back to neutral, you know, just like I teach in the best boat captain, in gear, out of gear, in gear, out of gear. I was doing that, getting ready to do my pivot into the slip, in gear, out of gear. It stayed in gear. I reverse. I went into reverse and it gave it throttle forward. I went back to neutral, pulled the safety switch, and I was like, hold on, everybody hands inside. And we bumped into the dock. Luckily we were going slow. But I was like, it freaked me out. I went in, talked to my manager. I'm like, okay, got them all tied up, got everybody back. Said, I don't know what's going on with this boat, but they're not buying it right now. We need to check it out, see what's going on. And I told the guy, I said, for right now, you're not buying it until we know exactly what's going on and know that this will not happen again. Let's keep looking. And it freaked me out. I did not, and that was just it. It wouldn't go into neutral. That wasn't even wide open throttle. So anyway, that was an unnecessary story. All right, thanks everybody. I appreciate it, and we will be back next week, Sunday. And yeah, I appreciate it. All have a great week. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for supporting the channel. And hey, if anybody wants to go leave a review on Google or Facebook, it's always appreciated. Rhonda, thanks for sticking around the whole show. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys are all a part of the channel. So Joseph, I'll do this one real quick. Thoughts on two strokes? Two strokes are great. They're simple. If you can do your own wrenching, if you can do your own mechanical work, they're the more basic engine that you can do yourself. They're going to have depending on which two-stroke you're looking at. Good night, Ray. Have a good one. Hope everything's good up there in Indiana. They're going to have a two-stroke smell to them, which some people love, some people don't like. Again, there's not any two-strokes that are going to be new if you're in the US. Make sure that the two-stroke you're buying, you run that baby hard, and you put it through its paces to know that one is in good condition. If it's a force, I recommend staying away from it. But two-strokes are awesome. The new technology of the four-stroke, quieter, EPA restrictions, no mixing the oil changes like your car. On the new boats, that's what more people wanted. But there is a whole bunch of people, Brock included, that would take the power and the torque and the smell and the sound of a two-stroke over the quiet four strokes any day of the week. So don't be turned off because it's a two-stroke. Do know that the resale can be a little bit tougher, because just like you're having this thought of two strokes, really, everything new is four-stroke. Is two-stroke any good? Every year that goes by, that question is going to be more and more in people's minds. So resale can be a little bit tougher. But again, there's a huge group of people that are dreading the day they have to get rid of their old two-stroke because they're not going to be available anymore. So, but again, just like I told somebody that asked, the Angler guy that asked about the 2008 Angler, it's about the two-stroke that you're buying and the condition that that's in. So, all right. All my outboards are see, there you go. There's the two-stroke lovers. I knew they're amongst us. Nothing like the 12 two-strokes, diesel, propane in the morning. Yeah. They're the two-stroke, Joseph, they're all over the place. Brock's got a Brock's got a 4-stroke on his Sportsman. Ray's got a 4-stroke on his Bennington. ZKR is running 2 strokes. I'm on, I want to say center console is what he runs, if I remember right. But yeah, they're just check the one that you're getting, and go through it, run it, check the plugs, make sure that if it's direct injected, if it's an older one, just check those things and make sure that the one you're looking at is in good running condition. So including the lower unit, don't forget that. Checking that to make sure all those gears are good there and no metal shavings. 2011, welcome. All right, this is it. This is it. Any thoughts on the future of boat sales by spring? All right, so I'm going to hold off on this one because I just go back and watch the beginning of this. I did a whole spiel on it, and tomorrow I am going to be making the video, the market update video. That's about 2 months too late. So that's coming. That is coming. And I've been seeing the river shiver on Facebook. I'm in one of the groups where that's happening. And I've seen some of the videos of all of the big cigarette boats pulling out of one of the docks. It was pretty cool. So, all right, guys, really, this is it. This is the end. I appreciate you joining us. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you guys for making this so much fun. I really look forward to these and enjoy them, sharing some insights, the question, the participation, the other knowledge that you guys share that, even everybody has more knowledge than I do in some area. And I appreciate when everybody shares and pitches in and has some fun as we're doing it. Check compression for sure. Check compression. Yeah. And watch the beginning of this video. It should be back up as just a video to watch in like 20 minutes, and you can go back and watch the whole thing. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next weekend.